Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. So welcome to an episode of Set Musings for Urza's Legacy. I always look forward to doing these. There's the nostalgia part, and obviously the fact that at this point in Magic's history I've not played any of these formats in paper. This is way before I got into Magic, so it's always interesting to see a set in effect as you would see it when it was first released. Obviously with the benefit of hindsight here. Off screen I have up the particular page for Mtg Wiki, so I can remember all those fun little facts about the set. So this is a small set, second set of the block, came out on February 15th, 1999. In it, obviously, a lot of the themes, mechanics, keywords, abilities were in the block as a whole. So a lot of this stuff you would have seen if you watched the Set Musing episode for Urza's Saga. And so we've got free spells still in blue, enchantments that do various things or are triggered in various ways, which we'll see, cycling and echo. As always, I've set my tabs up so I can quickly switch between the different focuses. I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time going forward in these episodes as well, slicing through the sets beyond just the themes and the cycles. You'll see what I mean when I come to a later part of the video. If there's any of your favourite cards in the set, please comment in the comment section. If you've got any particular fond memories of this set, or there's stuff that for the first time just jumps out at you and you really feel sort of pulled towards that card, I'd be interested. 143 cards, 44 rare, 44 uncommon and 55 commons. No basic lands, because again, when you're talking about a block, the basic lands are printed in the large set and then you don't normally see them unless there's some reason, or obviously we've now moved into a non-block era of Magic. But back in the days of block, a lot of the times, particularly this period, you'd have one set of basic land artwork for the whole set. So if you want to see that and you haven't watched the Urza's Saga episode of Set Musings, then take a look at that. Apparently this particular period in Magic, there's an era here which was referred to as combo winter, where we had these sort of powerful sets which produced quite a lot of combos. So this happened after the release of Urza's Saga, really. There were just too many overpowered cards and combos were filling the tournament scene. A large number of cards ultimately got banned in, was it 1998, December? And then more cards got banned in March 1999. And I believe this is the first time in Magic's history where card was banned almost immediately after it was released. I think it was specifically the card Memory Jar. We should see it in here actually, because it was from Urza's Legacy. It threatened to prolong the so-called combo winter. So again, I'm not going to go through all these little granular details, but I will include the link to, as I always think I do, to the Mtg Wiki article, because it's got all the really useful links in there as well. So definitely take a look at that if you want to know a bit more about the set, because with these set musings I could go on for days. That there's so many intricacies to sets, and obviously again with the benefit of time and hindsight, stuff comes out, articles that people have forgotten about get found on the internet, and it just adds to the richness of the stories behind these sets, and both in terms of development and the plot lines. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. So I'll come back to the set as a whole in a moment. So let's go through and start slicing the set up in different ways. So the first thing I want to mention about is cycling. You can see here we've got cycling in all the colours, not complete symmetry across all the colours. Looks like we've got slightly more cycling in blue and green. So with the cycling cards, it's pretty straightforward. You've got a standard spell. It can be an instant. You can see here it could be a creature spell. Interrupts was still a thing, which were technically faster than instants. Although when you look at the oracle for this, it's now just called an instant. So again, something that's worth looking up on Mtg Wiki, what the difference is between an instant and an interrupt. In terms of, when I say speed, it's basically what happens on the stack, if you like. It's a way to think of it. Or in relation to the stack and in relation to the board. So again, what you'll notice is with these, the cycling costs are all the same regardless of the card. So in effect, what they've done is they've added cycling to the bottom of the card. So you have the standard cost for each of these. Obviously, as I've said, they're different types of spell. And then whatever it does, in this case is an instance, Iron Will, so target creature gets +0/+4 until end of turn. But as with all of these, you have the option to cycle. So cycling for 2, you may pay 2 and discard this card from your hand and draw a card. Play this ability as an instant. So you can see there's a vast difference in all the spells beyond their cycling cost. Just looking to see here, one thing there isn't cycling attached to, interestingly, is enchantments, seeing as this was an enchantment heavy block. And for this set there was no cycling on artifacts. So the other thing was echo. Again, you can see we've got echo on this in artifacts as well. Again, no symmetry across all the colours. So we've got a couple in white, one blue, one a black one, 2 reds, 4 greens, and then 5 artifacts. Again, with this, echoes at the top, well, echoes on here, in the top section here. So we've got, so you can see there's no cost here because it references back to the cost of the card. So just basically with echo, during your next upkeep, after this permanent comes under your control, pay its casting cost or sacrifice it. Now, because of the nature of these are going to be permanents. You're not going to see instants or sorceries here because it doesn't make any sense for this particular ability. So let's use Ring of Gix as an example. So we pay 3 to play it. It has echo, so we just got to remember during our next upkeep, after this permanent comes under your control, you have to pay the casting cost again or sack it. Now you could opt to do that and it would go to your graveyard. And it looks like, in addition to Echo, every single one of these, obviously, it's a creature with an ability stapled on it as well. And I'm wondering, it would make sense because of the nature of Echo, you would want an ETB effect on here. Except, interestingly enough, for the artifacts. Yeah. So all of the creatures have an ETB on them, which makes sense because you're still getting an additional spell type effect or non-creature spell effect, even if you choose to pay the echo cost. Or sorry, even if you choose not to pay the echo cost. Sorry about that. You choose not to pay the echo cost, so it gets sacked. So with Bone Shredder, so I get a 2 and a black flying with echo, comes into play. It has an ETB on it, which means that I would still get to destroy a target non-artifact, non-black creature, even if the following upkeep I choose to not pay the echo cost and it gets sacrificed. Now, through Magic's history, if you think about it, they've done similar things with other things, other keywords abilities, which have a similar effect on the board, where you play the card and you can opt to do several things, and I'm thinking specifically about creatures here. And if you go down one route, you get the creature. If you go down another, and the effect. If you go down another route, you just get the effect. With this one, it's a little bit interesting because your choice of what to do doesn't really occur until you get to your next upkeep. Whereas there's other cards in Magic's history where it's, you know, the choice is made at the point you cast the spell. And it sounds like we're getting quite granular in our analysis here, but it's interesting to look at, I think, compare templating of different mechanics where they look not exactly the same, but there's at some point there's a similar effect going on, and then something else happens or doesn't happen, which makes the card slightly different, or makes that keyword ability slightly different from another one that at some point it behaves ultimately in the same way, and then something else happens or can happen. But again, it's interesting. I'd not really got this deep into it and really looked at the set and realised that, yep, with Echo, you notice none of the artifacts have a ETB ability on them, whereas the non-artifacts, like the creature non-artifacts, do. Now, I'm just trying to think with these, because with the creatures, they're going to come into play. They're going to have summoning sickness. So, that's going to limit to some degree what you can do with the card if you ultimately decide not to pay its echo cost on the following upkeep. With these are artifacts here, so it's a question of, okay, if I choose not to pay the echo cost, how much can I leverage this? What can I do with it? So this, they were still here. 3 spells. Okay, they're all in blue, annoyingly, one of which has cycling on them. So with these 3 spells, you play them, and the free effect, which is to untap a whole load of lands of the same value, if you like. So this is 1 and a blue, so 2 CMC. So I get to untap 2 lands, 2 and a blue this one, so I get to untap 3, 5 and 2 blue, so I get to untap 7, and this one 1 and the blue, so I get to untap 2. So I've got back the mana that I've invested. So you could, you don't, you know, it's really obvious. You don't have to spend long looking at these going, yep, that's pretty powerful. And obviously we've got, what, 2 creatures and 2 instants. This is just a flyer, or just a flyer, 1/1 flyer with cycling on it. Card draw on this one. This has flying, but also bounce on it for 2 and 2 blue. And this in itself is actually a bounce spell. Not much else to say beyond those. Beyond that, sorry. What do we got here? Oh, these ones. So I wanted to highlight this up here. We've got Opal Avenger, Opal Champion, Lurking Scourge, and Hidden Gibbons. Hidden Gibbons, yeah. You can see here these are all enchantments where it becomes a creature. If a certain criteria is met. So with Opal Avenger, when you have 10 or life or less. With Opal Champion, when one of your opponents successfully casts a creature spell. With Lurking Scourge, when a creature is put into one of your graveyards. And Hidden Gibbons, when one of your opponents successfully casts an instant or interrupt spell. Now we've seen this before in the previous set. This becoming of an enchantment into a creature. The other thing that we've seen with enchantments. So we're in the area here of basically, these, I suppose you could call them sleeping enchantments. Or enchantments that they'll sit there, and then once something has happened, they'll activate in some way. So with this one, the previous ones to look at, if you look at them, they become something when something happens to something else on the board. With these ones, these get triggered during your upkeep, but also will often have like a second criteria. So they're all upkeep triggered. Well, this one's a bit of an odd one actually. This is more if other enchantment. So this gives that ability to other enchantments actually. So it's all, most of these apart from this one, all of these apart from this one is this. During upkeep, if for these ones you can see here, there's a few with slightly subtle differences, like you've got this one during your upkeep, there's no if, it's just this happens during your upkeep. This one again, this happens. Now the other thing here you'll notice on these as well excuse me, and we'll come back to this in a moment, are these recurring auras, which I've got a separate slice for that. While we're in here, might as well look at the legends. So we've got 2 legends in the set. Radiant Archangel, 2 and 2 white, flying, counts as an angel because it never says angel in this point in Magics. It never said the creature type in here. It only had like this summon legend for legends. Has vigilance on it and gets +1/+1 for each other creature with flying in play. Multani Maro Sorcerer. This has been, I know this has been this was reprinted. Was it in 10th edition? Probably, maybe other times as well. Power and toughness equal to the total number of cards in all players' hands. Can't be the target of spells or abilities. Okay, a cycle of lands here that all turn into creatures. Same CMC, but just different color component in there for obviously for each of the one, based on its color. So Forbidding Watchtower, and you can see they all come into play tapped. They all generate the mana of their appropriate color. And then they all have this ability which turns them into a creature. So for Forbidding Watchtower, 1 and a white gets you a 1/5 white creature until end of turn. The blue one, 1 and a blue gets you a 2/1 blue creature with flying. The black one, Spawning Pool, so gets you a 1/1 black creature with regenerate on it. You can see the effect ends at the end of turn. 2/1 red creature with first strike on the red one, and Treetop Village, C3 green creature with trample. So apparently they did change something on the borders on these, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Something different about the artwork. If I don't come up with it before anybody remembers, can they comment on that? There was definitely, from what I remember, a slight artwork change in the design, and I believe it was on the lands that they did that. Oh yeah, here we go, I've got it now. So Urza's Legacy was the first set to feature appropriately coloured text boxes or text box frames for mono-coloured non-basic lands. Before this, these text boxes featured bronze coloured frames. Oh, I see what you mean, yeah, look. It's more of a sort of dirty white, sort of grey colour there, but yeah, I see now. Okay. Oh yeah, these ones, right. So, recurring auras. Obviously, as their auras, they all enchant creatures. There's one in each colour. There's obviously an ability that it imparts, so the white one enchanted creature can't attack. During the blue one, during the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player pays 2 or sacrifices a creature. Sleeper's Guile, the black one, enchanted creature cannot be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. Sluggishness, it's the red one, enchanted creature cannot block. And then Rancor, which is always my favourite of this cycle, enchanted creature gets +2/+0 and trample. And what makes these super powerful and super annoying is all of them have this same second ability where when it gets put into a graveyard, they bounce back to your hand. And if you've ever or done sealed, or I think when I played it, it would have been, because Rancor was reprinted, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but certainly when you're drafting this set, yeah, this is your friend if you want to play green. Okay, so we did see some of these earlier, because I just looking at those sort of enchantments as a whole, where they all had that, during your upkeep, blah blah blah. This is a bit more of a focus one. This is the actual cycle within those similar enchantments, and these were referred to as the sleeping enchantments. So they have a big effect if a certain requirement is met. Now you saw how there's similar cards in the same colours, but this is the specific cycle here. So we've got Planar Collapse, Second Chance, Brink of Madness, Impending Disaster, Defense of the Heart. It's all during your upkeep, and it's all if as well. So it triggers on upkeep, but has a condition as well, or a requirement. So Planar Collapse, what does that do? So 4 more creatures in play, sacrifice Planar Collapse and destroy all creatures. Okay. Interesting. Those creatures, they cannot be regenerated this turn. Destroy all creatures. Second Chance. If you have 5 or less lives, sacrifice Second Chance and take an extra turn. Brink of Madness, if you have no cards in hand. When it triggers, sacrifice Brink of Madness and target opponent discards his or her hand. Yeah, you can see why they're called sleeping enchantments, because they just sit there, and during your upkeep this requirement is checked, and if it does, then you get it. If it doesn't, then you wait until the next upkeep, see if it gets the requirement gets triggered then. 7 more lands in play, sacrifice Impending Disaster and destroy lands. Now some of these, see that you do have to sack the card, so when it does trigger, you've lost it. The other ones, no, it just stays in play by the look of things. Yeah, I suppose you wouldn't want that. Yeah, maybe that's a sort of effect which you really only want it to happen once. This is pretty annoying. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's super annoying. Defense of the Heart. During your upkeep, if one of your opponents controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defense of the Heart. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards and put those creatures into play. Shuffle your library afterwards. Okay. Be interesting to look at the price of some of these. I don't know if any of these have ever actually been reprinted. They're probably just too powerful. So, moving beyond the complete colour cycle, other sorts of cycles. So, there's a vertical cycle of black carrier creatures, which all had Phyrexian something in the title. And they can be sacrificed to give another creature -X until end of turn, where X is its power and toughness. So that's the similarity of these, but it's a vertical cycle, so it's only in black in this particular cycle. So with vertical cycles, you just see them in one colour. For that particular vertical cycle anyway. because there could be multiple vertical cycles in multiple colours in a particular set. There's only one here with flying, but you can see all the others. Yeah, all of these you've got to sack them. This one's got an additional ability actually, which way you can sack a creature and target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. But you know, you've got a casting cost of 5 there. And sure, Carrier Lord, I suppose. I don't think Carrier Tribal is a thing. So there's a few pairs in the set. There was a pair of defenders, and they weren't defenders as in rules defenders, but they had defender in the title. And they were both knights, defender of law, defender of chaos. White one, red one, protection from red. The white one, protection from white, the red one. And you could play them at instant speed. They have flash. Back before, you can see I didn't use the word flash here. If we look at the, let's just see, if we look at the Oracle, yeah, there you go. Oh, this was the focus of a Magic the Relaxing episode, Peace and Quiet. So two mirrored pairs here. We've got Rack and Ruin and Peace and Quiet. You can see destroy 2 target enchantments is the white one, destroy 2 target artifacts is the red one. And then Sick and Tired and Hope and Glory, another mirrored pair, one in white, one in black. The black one here, you can see as well the casting costs are different, but you can see same type of spell. And here the Sick and Tired one, two target creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn, and Hope and Glory, untap 2 target creatures, each of them gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So yeah. Now, what did I do here? Let's have a look. Oh yeah. So before I start going through the set as a whole, and we'll have a look at some of the theme decks actually. So before we have that sort of helicopter view of the set, I just thought it'd be interesting to focus in on the instants in the set. Particularly because I was curious if there were any like instant speed removal or pseudo removal. So in white we've got enchantment removal. So it looks like we've got life gain, pump spells, untap target enchantment. Oh, we get to destroy a creature with power 4 or greater. In blue, what we got? Instant speed card draw, and then discard. But there's that one with the, which is the free spell. Counter spell that targets a creature. Conditional counter spell. Card draw. Bounce on artifacts at instant speed, and snap, bounce and then bounce free spell. We saw Sick and Tired earlier. I'm trying to remember what they call a -1/-1 effect. Oh, if you can remember, please comment. Is it Sicken? Yeah. Swap, destroy target creature with power 2 or less. What we got in red, interesting, get to switch power and toughness. Ooh, land sacrifice. Okay, so that's an interesting combination. It's got instant speed, X damage based on sacrificing creatures. Did I say land? I meant creatures, sorry. Parch. Okay, 1 and a red for a 2 damage spell, or 4 damage on a blue creature. And we saw Rack and Ruin by getting rid of artifacts. So do we have any pseudo removal in green? So okay, so we've got rotation, so that's that instant speed spell where you sack a land and you can search your library for another land. Enchantment bounce, no surprise in green. Okay, a pump spell. Instant speed 7/7 for 3 and a green. Repopulate. Okay, so that's graveyard return back to your library. And a 1 mana 1/1 pump spell, and with reach as well. That's interesting. So how's that worded on the... Yeah, okay, makes sense. While we're at it, actually, I wonder if there are any sorcery speed removal. Oh, of course, Lava Axe. 5 damage to target player, but it's not removal, it's 5 damage to target player. Wing Snare, destroy target creature with flying. Okay. Graveyard Shenanigans with Unearth. Ostracides is discard spell, store sorcery speed. Purify will destroy all artifacts and enchantments, sorcery speed, and what's Tinker do? So you have to sack an artifact. Okay, so it's what, crop rotation for artifacts? Yeah. Okay. Theme decks. This becomes important because at some point, obviously in the next few days, it might be a week or so actually thinking about it, because I've got a deck hurdle episode to do for both Urza's Legacy and so all Urza's Legacy, and then half Urza's Saga, half Urza's Legacy as my card pool, and then a deck hurdle episode based on a Commander fodder episode based on the rares that I pull as part of the Urza's Legacy deck hurdle, and then I'll get to doing the Commander fodder for one of these theme decks. I haven't decided which one yet. Normally I base it on the sort of strength of the rare versus the strength of the deck as a whole. This looks interesting. Oh, Ring of Kicks, okay. Oh, there's this blueprint in here as well. Free spells. Okay, white, blue, black, red. Yeah. Anyway, I'll take a deeper look at this when I come to do the episodes of Commander fodder for this set of theme decks. So I'll just pick one. Right, going back to the set as a whole, our top-down stuff. So I'm just going to go through and just see if anything bounces out at me by looking them in the sort of helicopter view rather than slicing through them as we've done so far. So we've got Erase here, which removes enchantments, which we've already seen. Oh, there's Karmic Guide in here. 3 and 2 white, 2/2 flying, Protection from black with Echo. When Karmic Guide comes into play, choose target creature card in your graveyard and put that creature into play. Mother of Runes. Target creature you control gains protection from a colour of your choice until end of turn. That's Bouncing Bugles. 2 in a blue, Bouncing Bugles unblockable if defending player controls an artifact. This has been reprinted a few times, Levitation. And we already saw this when we had a look at the instance. Fog of Gnats. This was in the one of the theme decks, Molten Hydra. 1 of the red, 2 red, put a 1/1 counter on Molten Hydra. Tap, remove all 1/1 counters on Molten Hydra. Molten Hydra does whatever. Do we want to do when I do that episode of the Commander Feder for the theme deck, do we want to choose this one and do a Hydra deck? See. Got a number of Viashino creatures here. Deranged Hermit. Apparently part of the Squirrel Prison deck. 3 and 2 green, 1/1 Echo. When Deranged Hermit comes into play, put 4 Squirrel tokens into play. Treat these tokens as 1/1 green creatures. All squirrels get +1/+1. There we go. Squirrel artwork. Squirrel. Oh, Lone Wolf, that's that. 2 and a green, 2/2. You may have Lone Wolf deal combat damage to defending player instead of creatures blocking it. We already saw Rancor. It'd be interesting, I'm assuming this happened fairly early on in Magic because of just references to other characters in the Magic universe. But here's an example where you've got a spell that references a legend in the set actually, and I'm not sure at what point in Magic's history in terms of in the same set they started doing that. Altani's Presence. Whenever a spell you play is counter, draw a card. Tree Folk. Well, there's Yevamaya Worm. 6/4 for 4 and 2 green with trample. So moving on to artifacts, because there were a number of artifacts in this set. Angel's Trumpet. So attacking does not cause creatures to tap. Tap creatures he or she controls. That did not its turn. Damage to that player for each creature tapped this way. Beast of Burden. There's Grim Monolith. So it does not untap during your uptap phase. Tap, add 3 colours mana to your mana pool. Play this ability only as a mana source, and you can pay 4 to actually untap it. Variation on Basalt Monolith. So you can see interactions with this and say something like Voltaic Key. Oh, there's Memory Jar. So apparently this is the first card to be banned from tournament play by the DCI Players Organisation before it had been proven to be broken in tournament use. Many players contacted the DCI after the set was released, showing how Memory Jar made first turn wins possible and second to third turn wins common in the standard environment. So 5 to cast. Sacrifice Memory Jar. Each player sets aside his or her hand face down and draws 7 cards. At the end of turn, each player discards his or her hand and returns to his or her hand each card he or she set aside this way. This is preprint again. We've seen some of these echo creatures or echo artifacts already actually. So going back up here. Oh, Defense Grid was in here. During each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. Now when was that? Oh, that was in 9th edition and part of the Kaladesh Inventions. I'm just going to quickly, before I go on to the price and EDH side of things, let's just sort this by power. Now what's interesting, if we do that, obviously all the non-creature spells bubble to the top. And what I noticed when I tried this, just setting this whole thing up, is we're about halfway down the page before we even get to any creatures. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, one, I'm always curious about creatures whose power toughness is dependent on something else. So we've got 3 here that do that: Anthroplasm, Beast of Burden and Multani, which we've seen already. So with Anthroplasm, it gets its power and toughness through the counters that it comes into play with, and then you can manipulate those. Beast of Burden is equal to the total number of creatures in play. And then down at the other end, I'm always curious as to what are the largest creatures here based on power. So Yavimaya Worm, it's a 6/4. Whether she tree folks are 5/3. What's our largest flyer? Palincron. That's part of the High Tide combo deck apparently. Palincron, 5 and 2 blue, flying. What was it? Yeah, no, we did see this before. These free spells. And then, oops. Let's just see. What our most powerful creature is in terms of toughness. I always like to see if there's any interesting walls like bounce out here, like 0-7 walls or something ridiculous. There's a Thran War Machine, attacks if turn if able, 4-5. Radiance Dragoons, it's a 2-5. But no walls with weird abilities on them that I can see at the higher end. Okay, good. So, final couple of things then. There's our Grim Monolith. No surprise there, I did mention up as a notable card. So the only time it's been printed in paper, and I tend to, I mean obviously it's been printed here, but these are the gold bordered ones. So just once, it's $370. I think what we're going to see again with this price wise is we'll see quite a lot of cards that are above that sort of $10 threshold, which I go down to, because they seem to be, you know, a lot of cards in the set have held a value above $10 and probably are going up as we speak. Oh, Deranged Hermit. I bet we'll see a lot here that have never been reprinted. It's 124, so quite a big difference between the first and the second one on the list. Palincron, yeah. So these would all, yeah, these are all decks that see play in Eternal format decks. I wonder if we'll see. I don't know how much they reprinted things like Goblin Welder. That used to be a staple in Vintage Legacy. Oh, there's Memory Jar. Vintage Masters was a Magic the Gathering Online only from the Vault Relics. No Mercy. Defense Grid's been reprinted a few times. I must have got muddled up then, so that wasn't in 10th. Maybe there's another Multani I'm thinking of that cropped up in 10th edition. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm getting muddled up here. So yeah, that was only ever printed in Urza's Legacy. Wow. Same with that, it's only been printed in paper in Urza's Legacy. Defense of the Heart. Did crop up in the mystery boosters. Oh, there we go, Goblin Welder. It was in that dual deck and in the Commander's Anthology because it was in Commander 2014. Second Chance. So we're getting close to $10. It's a cool space. You see loads of the, well, all of them. I say all of them. A lot of them only appeared. What was the artwork for that? Oh yeah, I remember that. So that was from Urza's Legacy. Wow. Okay, yeah, Karmic Guide. I knew that had cropped up in several different places. So first time after Urza's Legacy, it was reprinted in the Commander product, the 2013 one. Then it was, oh, that's online, sorry. Eternal Masters was paper. It got, well, Commander Anthology because the deck was obviously included in that. Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, it's quite a big difference in the price. There. Oh, there we go. We've dropped below that on Ring of Gix. And then I think we know what's going to be here from the cards we've seen already. And yeah, so we've got Frantic Search, Crop Rotation, Mother of Runes, Phyrexian Reclamation. I'll have a look and see what deck that's in. Grim Monolith, Karmic Guide, Goblin Welder, Rancor, yeah. Snap, Unearth, Defense of the Heart, yeah. Yep. No surprises here. Let me just have a look at that one though. I mean, because that's super useful. Because yeah, you can just keep okay, you pay 2 life and return target creature from your hand. So yeah, see, it's been in a couple of commander products as well. But what I was curious is, what sort of commander does that get played with? Okay, so mono black mainly. Yep. I'm just sitting there thinking, well, you need something to mitigate or to counteract that life loss, and yep, that would do it. Not a ton of decks though. Well, maybe. I suppose it depends on. Cool. So what's our least played or least EDH rec ranked? Thran War Machine. Let's have a look. That's funny. It's in one deck. Oh dear. That is funny. Okay. So there we have it. Another episode of Set Musings in the can. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Again, these are always a blast to make, mainly for 2 reasons. One is it's just great looking at these old cards, seeing what's reprinted, and you know that going back to that period and seeing, you know, how the set placed in the grand scheme of things, and then there's the fact that this really sets me up nicely for when I do the Deck Durdle episode and I have a bit of a better overview of the set, and it's helping me when I go in and do that. So hopefully you're enjoying these. Again, if any cards here I sort of glossed over and you want to, you know, like, raise your hand in the comment section and say, oh yeah, I remember this particular card, it was really cool, and you know, or just stuff that bounced out out of you, please make a comment, and I look forward to the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.